Welcome to chapter 8 of the book of Isaiah. It begins, "And the Lord said to me, take to yourself a a great new roll of papyrus, a tomon, a tome, comes from that, 5113.4. You can add that to your English derivatives book. And write on it with a pen, graphithe. We have a graph, it's a derivative for that word, 1124.1. You can add that to the book. With a pen of a man concerning the swiftly made plunder of spoils, for it is at hand." So now it's talking about some type of plunder of spoils. So Isaiah is to take a papyrus roll, which I use for bookmarks. We sell them on our bookstore, and the papyrus is I should have brought a piece up to show it to you. It's a fairly rough. It's like the corn cob, not the stalk, but the I forgot what the part is called. You pull it away from the corn on the cob, and it's a rough material to write on, but yes, is what they were using. At the time, it was plentiful. It was made in Egypt, and so they were able to purchase it and use it for writing. "And appoint witnesses to me of trustworthy anthropos, men." A witness, a martyros, a martyr is actually a witness. Now, here I remember in the last couple of chapters I've been mentioned the verb 4160, to do, pieo, and it takes the surrounding word that it's modifying to alter its meaning from to do. And here it's of trustworthy men. So you wouldn't put to do of trustworthy men. So basically what it means is to appoint. Now, there's probably another word that could be used there instead of pieson, but that's just what they translated it as. And the men were Uriah the Uriah the priest, and Zachariah, Eon Varachiu, Zechariah the son of Berechiah. Now, in the New Testament, it mentions where Jesus says, "So that should come upon you, the Pharisees, all the just blood having been poured out upon the earth from the blood of Abel, the just one, unto the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and altar. Amen, I say to you that all these things shall come upon this generation." Now, it's a possibility it could be talking about this Zechariah, but the Zechariah that wrote the book of Zechariah, he was also a son of Berechiah, and he lived during the reign of Darius. This is after the sacking of Jerusalem, and the Jews have all been taken into the Mesopotamian area. And I believe that is the son, that Zechariah is the one Jesus is referring to because of the things that were going on in rebuilding Jerusalem and his prophecies, which were sort of anti-clerical. Anyway, so this is who he's supposed to take. "And I drew near to the prophetine," a prophetess. The teen at the end makes it a feminine, and the teen here is feminine article. "I drew near to the prophetess. And she conceived in the womb, and gave birth to a son. And the Lord said to me, call his name, quickly despoil, swiftly plunder." Now in the Hebrew it's much shorter than that. I'm sure I should have wrote it down, but I didn't, so I had to go into the King James to find out what that word was. "For before the child knows to call his father or mother, one shall take the power of Damascus and the spoils of Samaria before the king of the Assyrians." So the king of the Assyrians is prophesied to come and take Syria, Damascus, and Samaria, which was the prophecy of the downfall of Israel, which will happen soon after this when he was writing this. And the Lord proceeded to speak to me again, saying, well, because this people want not the water of, the King James says Shiloah, going tranquilly, but it's Siloam, which makes sense because it would be the pool of Siloam is what I believe it's talking about here. Somehow the King James translators got that wrong, and I'm not sure how they missed Siloam, but they didn't apparently look at the Greek because they would have seen the Siloam, which is close to the Siloam. It was going tranquilly, but want to have Rezin, the son of Remaliah, king over them. Therefore this. Well, speak to me. It's because this people. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know where the sons of Judah wanted Remaliah, Rezin, the Syrian, to rule over them. Possibly the people up in Israel. But apparently there was somebody that did want that, because the Lord is saying that. Therefore this, behold, the Lord leads against you the strong and abundant water of the river, the king of the Assyrians, and his glory. Now, this was probably Tiglath-Pileser, and he came down, and he did take Israel, and Pekah was the king, and then he went into Judea and took Manasseh, took him captive back to Babylon. So could be either one, but anyway, and he shall ascend upon your ravine. So this is probably talking about the prophecy against Manasseh, and shall walk upon your wall. And he shall remove from Judea a man who shall be able to lift his head, or able to complete anything. And his camp will be so as to fill the width of your place. God be with us. And that is God with us, again, is Emmanuel, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't use the Hebrew transliteration, but it uses basically the same thing, Emmanuel. God be with us. And be is mine, or God with us. Then in 9 it says, know, O nations, ethne, and be vanquished. Now it changes here. He says, take heed unto the latter end, eschatu, eschatology, the study of the end times, seminaries of the earth. Take heed unto the latter end of the earth. Be strong, be vanquished, for if again you should be strong, again you will be vanquished. So I look at that, well, is that the same with today? Israel is strong, but again it's going to be vanquished by the beast, which Israel being strong and being vanquished has happened quite a few times. And whomever you should consult counsel, the Lord shall efface it. So whatever they tried to do, even with during the beast, if Israel realizes and they're trying to stop it, then they won't be able to change the plans of God if he is allowing it to happen. And whatever word you should speak, in no way should it adhere to you, for God is with us. Now, again, God with us, Emmanuel. Thus says the Lord, with a strong hand they resist persuasion in the going of the way of this people, saying, lest at any time you should say it is hard. For all whatever this people should say is hard. But the fear of him in no way should you be fearful, nor should you be disturbed. Now, who is him? I believe it's talking about the Lord here. And this dagger shows that this is a quotation that is used in the New Testament, and it is in 1 Peter 3:14. Peter's talking about the ones afflicting the Christians, and who actually turns around here. You should not be fearful, nor should you be disturbed. But yet, here the Jews were disturbing the Christians. And it says, Peter says, and who is the one afflicting you, if you should become mimics of the good? But if also you may suffer because of righteousness, blessed are you. But the fear of them, the Jews, you should not fear, nor should you be disturbed. And 14, the Lord of the forces, dynamion, dynamite, dynamio, sanctify him, and he will be your fear. Phobos, the fear. There's phobithete, the verb, subjunctive should. And if you should be relying upon him, he will be to you for a sanctuary. So that's for us to know, that we yield on Christ. And he is our sanctuary, that we will protect ourselves. Now, right now in 2017, there are, as a new president, and he's wanting to send a lot of the illegal people that came into the United States illegally, send them back to their countries. But they don't want to go, of course, and they like the United States. And a lot of cities have called themselves sanctuary cities, that they will protect these people. But the hand of man is not very good at protecting like God, and yielding upon Jesus, and he will be for us a sanctuary. And not as a stone of stumbling for you to meet up with. Where do we see that? Romans 9:32. It says, Paul says, for they stumbled against the stone of stumbling. So this is exactly what happened to the Jews. And here Isaiah is bringing that out also. You should be yielding, and if you're not yielding upon Jesus, which they rejected, then you stumble against the stumbling stone. Nor is a rock downfall. A couple of days ago, a large rock formation in the western United States called El Capitan in Yosemite had a giant rock fall, and it killed a few people that were right by there. They're on, I think, celebrating an anniversary. And so a rock downfall, things can happen that are natural also, but God can protect us from the natural occurrences. Not that he always will, as far as, we might die of a natural occurrence, but the best thing to do is to be yielding upon him for whatever. But the houses of Jacob are in a snare, and in a hollow, lying in wait in Jerusalem. Could be the same today. House of Jacob's in a snare. On account of this, many among them shall be powerless, and shall fall, and shall be broken. And they shall approach, and men shall be captured, being in safety. It could be the Babylonians, the Romans, or the beast. And but the point is of staying with the Lord, so this doesn't happen. Having him for your sanctuary. Then the ones setting a seal upon themselves to not learn the law will be apparent. And now today, I don't see anybody. Jews study the oral law, which was developed much later than when Isaiah wrote this. He's saying they're studying the law, and they're not. And they aren't still doing it today. They may be doing it somewhat, but they put this oral law of the rabbis that were started to be developed during the Babylonian captivity as what they are studying, because they didn't have a temple anymore. They didn't have sacrifices. So they had to get something to pull themselves all together, the Jews, to keep themselves together. So they started coming up with these man-made rules and regulations, which they started using and having people obey them, and people that didn't, to punish them. And Jesus came at that time. The Pharisees were doing that at the height of it, and warned them about doing this, setting up their own laws. And one shall say, I shall wait for God, the one turning his face from the house of Jacob, and I will be yielding upon him. Now that's what we should be doing. Behold, I and the Jews today, behold, I and the children which God gave to me. Now that's another quotation of Hebrews 2:13, and it says by the writer of Hebrews, since then the children have participated of flesh and blood, also he, Jesus, closely partook of the same, that through death he should cease the work having the might of death, that is to say, the devil. And so it uses it in another way. Behold, I and the children which God gave to me. But then again it uses, and he will be for signs. Now, who is he? I think it could very well be Jesus right here, because it's going right after this quotation where it's talking about Jesus. Even he will be for signs and miracles in the house of Israel by the Lord of hosts, who dwells on Mount Zion, which he did. He was on Mount Zion. And if they should say to you, well, seek the ones who deliver oracles, and the ones from the earth speaking out loud, ones seeking the dead, that is, and the empty words which they speak out loud from out of the belly, well, shall not a nation inquire to its God? So it says here, if they should say to you, well, seek them, if the clergy is not leading people to God, but they're leading them to like tarot cards or crystal balls and astrology and things like that aren't from God, then that would be really terrible. And apparently this is what was happening at this time of Isaiah. And it says, why do they inquire concerning the living of the dead ones? Somebody's dead, why do they go to them concerning somebody that's alive? For he gave the law for a help. And this God, I'm sure, is saying, because that's who gave it, that they should speak, not as this saying, concerning of which there are not gifts to give for it. So they couldn't buy your understanding of the future. And a famine shall come upon us harshly, and it will be as whenever you should hunger, you should be fretting, and you shall speak wickedly of the ruler Archonta and the fathers, Patria. You can add that to your English derivatives book, paternal as a derivative. And they shall look up into the heaven upward. So this is what people should be doing. And they shall look to the earth below. But if they are not looking to God, but they're looking to these other things for the telling them what to do, behold, darkness, affliction, and straits, even darkness so as to not see unto a time. Straits are a nautical term of being between two solid objects on left and right, and you're going up against the wind, and you have to tack into the wind, and you have a narrow passage, and it's very, very difficult to move the boat that way. So if you're looking at the wrong thing, then what do you have? You have darkness, affliction, all the things that you don't want to have happen because you're not looking to God. And I'm not looking to God. And even darkness so as to not see unto a time. Now exactly what he's referring to here, it could be today. Even darkness, if Israel is not seeking the Lord, not rebuilding the temple, doing the sacrifices, everything the way God would have them to do it, then they're not going to see unto a time. Chapter 9, we're going to go into next. Unto us a child is born. We've heard that quite a bit, and we will go into that quotation. It's in the New Testament. Hope you'll join us in chapter 9, and God bless.